Hello team, welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map. Wonderful looking land map with a little bit of water in different places. Cities and gas seem to be evenly spread throughout the map in general. Our two players today are Romad Quantum Scientist, who will be spawning in red, and Animorph, who is blue. Animorph's going in the bottom left here. Romad, don't know where Romad's going quite yet. Romad's going on the right-hand side. Gets 3 quick gas for free in a wooded area. I like this start. It's probably, someone would say it's in the corner, and I guess I kind of get that. I pick in the corner very often though. And Animorph's in an open field, so there's not going to be any like defensive bonuses for Animorph's buildings, but if Romad put their stuff all in this forest and mountains, there are a little bit, and stealth. That's why Animorph is going to build these 2 airports in the forest for the stealth capabilities. That great concealment. I don't know exactly what that means, but definitely the opponent can't see it as much. Mountains actually give a defensive bonus, so this town will have more health. 2 barracks for Animorph and a factory going for Sam's, and we see what Romad's going for, which is this just full econ start immediately. 2 towns and a port. Here comes the first actual building, the first production building for Romad, and it's an airport. So Romad's at 400 income right now after following up with another barracks, and Animorph's at 272, which is to be expected because these economy buildings were built right away with the pre-construction money. So Romad's going to need to have anti-air though, because 2 airports striker from Animorph, which is probably my favorite build, or like the one that I find the most comfortable to use, will be able to get a bunch of strikers relatively quick, clearly. And so it doesn't really matter if this is in a mountain if the strikers can just click on it. And there's no SAMs to attack them, there's no interceptors. What would be 900 IQ is if Romad goes for a striker here. It's going to be a transport ship. The transport plane is super nice for the expansion and really greedy, which I love, and Romad doesn't know this. And by spawning in the corner, I bet Romad's thought that there's a decent chance that Animorph goes up here or even here, and that there's a little bit more time to pull this off. Here's the factory from Romad, hopefully going for Sam's, potentially going for Sam's. But for Animorph, there's a potential to get really aggressive here and for it to pay off big time. 344 income for Animorph and 448 for Romad. If Romad can beat Animorph to the north and take control of all of this economy and land, then that will be one of the first indicators of whether Romad's in a good position here. Animorph is likely just waiting for the 4th strikers to pop out, the 3rd and 4th, and then we'll send them in. And same thing, Animorph doesn't know that Romad's here. I very much wonder if either player would be surprised to know that they were this close. Another barracks for Animorph, which I like. I mean, there's a ton of land to cap here, and infantry is going to be the most efficient at doing that. Some sort of infantry, like barracks unit. I have so many questions to know if Animorph planned this, to expect that Romad had gone here. Romad's going for 2 quick industries, which is ultra greed. But you gotta love it. Transport jet is going to take off right in time for these 4 strikers to attack. And what I should have done for demonstrative purposes is like shown the vision of Animorph, because those planes didn't fire right away because they didn't actually see all this, the first ones, because it's in the mountain, and with that mountain defensive bonus, 4 strikers can't kill it as quickly, which might turn out to be a big deal. This is great for Romad to get to the top. Because in tons of ways, obviously, he's just beaten Animorph to the top part of the map, which we've discussed is like so much economy and is really going to matter. Animorph gets all of this for free, which is the problem that Romad's going to have to deal with. Because Romad really needs to take the north. And even then, the map still might be like way more is for Animorph, and it's going to be tough to come back. 440 income for Animorph and 600 for Romad, who is still powering off of this early econ start. You gotta love the BBD. The big DeSantos drop. Here it goes. The BBD is a highly technical maneuver which requires you to drop your commandos directly on the high value target. Only one gets out. I don't know if one is going to be able to kill it here. See Animorph's vision. These buildings are providing good vision, so there's like the commando is seen. 2 commandos probably would be able to take this. 1 commando might not be able to. I don't want to look away though. Second factory for Romad in the mountains. I like that. Because this choke is very important. And this is going to be a big play for Romad if this airport goes down. Now we have 2 firecrackers attacking, and that is enough. Romad's continuing to build, I think, transport planes. Potentially, yeah. So a 3rd transport plane on the way. Now that there's 4 SAMs, I mean, doing this over and over again is going to cost Romad dearly. But maybe, if the transport plane gets the commando out, like, does it do well here? So how many shots does it get? So it gets 2. So that's not, yeah, this is going to be tough for Romad to capitalize on. 4 strikers for Animorph, who's right now down about 170 income on Romad, which is a decent amount, but over time, this is really going to work out for Animorph. That's a lot of economy to cap. And I think this is an understated part of the map that we haven't really been looking at, but this infantry skirmish, which has looked relatively even at the beginning and is going to go Animorph's way potentially. Here come the strikers, and they're just clicking on this airport, which I think is the right move, and I would make this. Unfortunately for Animorph, there's 2 SAMs, and these strikers aren't going to hit the airport in one go. There's only 4 of them, and 5 are needed to do a first pass attack. So here come the 5th and 6th strikers. They certainly will get this airport. I thought the SAMs would maybe move back to defend and it would get close. But this is going to work out. And Romad is out of gas. And that's why this transport plane is coming back. Can one of the SAMs last hit this thing? That one, yes. But for 1 striker, Animorph loves it. That's 100% a trade you want to take all the time. Animorph's a little bit short on the active income at 548 and making 58 a minute. Romad's economy is exploded. Why is our eco buildings all of a sudden really good? Again. I saw someone in the Discord saying that, and now how much is being capped for Animorph in the back? Like, it's I guess there's no real barracks that has been invested in the back yet. So that might be slowing it down. Because it's really only just 2 town, port, 3 industry? Which I can't do the math on the top of my head of how many squares that is of territory, but I would have expected this to be capped a little bit quick. Maybe that's what's happening. Either way, very impressive start from Romad. But the boxing is real. Because look at this control from Animorph. 3 factories and 2 barracks in the mountain for Romad are going to make it so that it's going to be hard for Animorph to break this position. Romad continues to just power up on eco. Which I might say it like I'm saying it in a negative way. I'm just saying it in a surprised way. Yeah, 2 industry immediately. Or 608 income for Animorph and 838 for Romad. Who very clearly has less land. I'm kind of swinging the map around, but I think it's Animorph has more. I like this target from Animorph. Get rid of one of these factories. Sniping buildings is such a huge part of this game. And this is the right number of infantry to do it. All of these strikers probably could be attacking here. On the buildings. This many SAMs in the forest is going to be impossible to deal with. Unfortunately for Animorph, they can't go just like straight shot at the airport. Or at these barracks. And 3 barracks on the north for Romad, which is exactly what's needed. 644 income per Animorph and 906 for Romad, who might take a beating here because Animorph might just be clicking this down, which is exactly what's happening. This is more than 5 strikers, so these planes are going to attack this on the first pass. But then I guess there's a mountain, so it takes a little bit longer. Because the mountain provides the defensive bonus. None of those strikers are going to go down. Still a decent amount of production for Romad, but I don't think that by the time Romad's production reaches these things for Animorph, it's going to get stopped. So, I mean, I think the best Romad can do is hold this mountain range, potentially. Romad's starting to make, or Animorph's starting to make money at 728. Still about like 150 lead for Romad, though. The airports are almost done producing for Animorph, so let's see if there's a airstrip out of that, or if Animorph's going to invest in just like different production units. Gas and airport at the top for Romad. I wonder what's going to come out of this airport. I like it though. This part of the map becomes very important. I mean, Romad knows that all of this is clearly uncontested. Ten strikers is the number to deal with all the units that Red has here. 2 SAMs are dispatched relatively quick. All of the artillery is going to get taken out. And really, there's only 2 SAMs over at these production facilities. It's just enough strikers. I think it's very difficult for Romad to come back from this position, even with an economy lead. I feel wrong saying that. 933 for Romad and 836 for Animorph, so it caught up a little bit. I guess 100 isn't that much, because this is tough. Romad's now boxed in. All of this is Animorph's, and now Romad really has to get across here, or super win the top and use that as a way to get across. Or maybe that's been the play, is just developing the economy to try to keep up. This could be a game changer for Romad. Random squads of commandos taking good fights against infantry. There's 3 barracks up here, so Romad can definitely make a lot of commandos. These strikers for Animorph might get... They might be close enough that they're going to actually hit these SAMs. Animorph doesn't know about that defensive line of SAMs in the forest. Yeah, because now these two commandos will probably be able to kill these two infantry. And then they live to cap more or take more fights, and it's like tough, very tough to deal with because they're essentially invisible to Animorph, right? Like right here. This is why Animorph is backing up, because there's definitely commandos. This is the most terrifying moment for Animorph, and I'm very interested to see how they deal with this. Because something that might happen is the second these SAMs start going, my immediate instinct when I play is to click on that line and delete it, and then all the planes fly over this. Yeah, like this. Okay, so yeah, it's just it happens. That is very unfortunate. I mean, that was like about 5 planes. Animorph's still in a great spot, like strategically, I think, because this is all like uncontested land, whereas Romad is all the territories that needs to be capped at this point is contested. Animorph's at just shy of 1,000 income, and Romad's at 1,000. So very slowly, the incomes are catching up to each other. Clearly enormous play for Romad with all those strikers. A third airport for Animorph, which I like. I think that is the play with this much money. I really look forward to seeing when Romad decides to eco here. Making 177 a minute. Top looking pretty good for Romad. And there's 3 barracks and 2 factories, so this is definitely a lot of infrastructure for Romad to commit to the north, with interceptors, which is even cooler. Which is actually a good. I mean, look at the range that you get out of interceptors here. This covers a lot of the room that the strikers are flying into. Romad's going for another barracks to the north. As long as Romad doesn't lose this position, then this is a decent situation. That is the vibe. Handful of strikers are going to find the SAMs, so they're going to actually attack the SAMs, unfortunately. Definitely 2 of the strikers going down. I'm going to be surprised if they don't get 2. Okay. Well, color me surprised. A lot of artillery, SAMs, and infantry here for Animorph. It's just the perfect combination of units, because it's enough infantry to keep Red's infantry off of your artillery. Handful of commandos mixed in. Always good. There's always random situations where commandos just can't be seen. As they get closer to the production facilities, it becomes less of a problem. But I always like having one of these things in here. Animorph's playing count is still okay. Romad's at 1161 income, Animorph's at 1100, and still hasn't capped about 15 territories in the top. The interceptors aren't going to be able to do too much damage to those things on the ground, but they're definitely going to be able to see all of them. Because otherwise Romad wouldn't have vision of these commandos. But to the main fight, there's enough artillery here that this is going to become a problem for Romad. 2 factories are making artillery pieces, but otherwise there's no artillery at all. And there's no airports to really help out, because the 3 strikers aren't going to do like enough damage to ground units. Strikers are great in air-to-air combat, but they're not the unit that you want to be cleaning up SAMs especially, and artillery. Animorph's responding with the factory in the top, which is a good play. And both players are at the same economy at this point, which is horrible news for Romad. And will become more horrible as the game goes on, because Animorph can still cap. I guess in the top right, I mean, there's still a decent amount for Romad to cap. I guess it's not totally fair that Romad's out of income potential. I just don't know how you deal with this. Like, how... At this point, there's 2 factories fighting against I mean, quite a number of artillery, and there's no strikers to deal with it, or helicopters. So let's see what Roma decides to do. Another factory somewhere. There's another factory in the back, which is good. For Romad. Oh, here's the factory. Romad's not going to lose this position. There's enough here for Romad that it's going to at least stall out long enough. This is the big thing. What is going to happen here? So you can look at the vision that the units are getting, right? And there's a decent amount of commandos that you can't really see that are within Romad's vision. So this many infantry just against pure commando? We're going to see how this turns out. So although Romad holds, I don't think this is super efficient. I can't imagine this is efficient. The commandos directly on top of artillery will be. Missile for Animorph. Super close. So that's going to be there quick. And I think Animorph's crushing here. Decent concave. I mean, both players, like, pretty much all the units are firing. I mean, this one in the back. For red, definitely not. And here comes a number of strikers that are almost enough, like, they're probably enough to just kill the SAMs outright. Whether they will by RNG on this first run or not. It's just 3 airports, there's no airstrip yet. And Romad's definitely going to lose that position, making 1341, which is still more than Animorph. And Romad still can cap. It just feels like there's not enough factories to deal with somehow this many factory units from Animorph. It's really 4 factory. Whether Romad wins the top still remains to be seen. I don't think these would be great to lose because it's really it's not about these buildings, it's about the city. And once these buildings go down, then the city goes down. So here comes 2 factories. If there's the general rule of thumb of build them a territory and a half away or whatever, I think someone said that. I always built I mean, I would have built the factory right here in panic. But this is very close. So Roma better hope that this gets stalled long enough that these buildings even make something. I mean, the same could be said for Animorph, though. This was a very aggressive forward factory. But this is slowly crumbling for Animorph. Or, pardon me, for Romad. Animorph's going to regroup in the top. And with 2 factories, a 3rd factory on the way, another airport, and strikers that can actually hit to this point, it's going to be very tough for Romad to push in any further than he already has. 1380 income for Animorph, 1400 for Romad. Still very close. These 2 factories, I guess I misread it entirely. I mean, that was enough time. The mountain range helps a little bit. But my apologies, yeah, Romad's on top of it, because now this is exactly where you want these factories to be. The second the artillery pops out, it's going to be in the fight. More interceptors from Romad, which I don't even mind as long as they get used right now, because this is in range of this airport. Let's see what the reaction time is. This is the toughest part about playing with interceptors, I think. This is super smart. I would have just dock commanded the interceptors and they would have flown over the SAMs. So Rema's going around the back, which is exactly how you want to do it. And it's a blue line hasted. Let's see if, does Rema turn off the haste or turn it to an attack line at this point? I don't know what would have happened if that was an attack move. Either way, I got one of the strikers, but this position still crumbles. And I think one of the few times that, I mean, it happens, of course, but it's not the norm that the person who's leading economically for most of the game. Yeah, it's very tough. This is enough units that, I mean, this alone, dealing with this is a lot of work to move artillery up and then make sure you have interceptors going to track and then Animorphs running around with them. Good game. Well played to both. Sweet. Well, GG, there's actually no need for a missile. I don't even think a missile ever built. And if I did and it was used, then it couldn't have been very good because I think we saw all the buildings. Thanks for watching. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a great night, day, evening, whatever it is. Peace.